5% of
Oh my
Americans
God,
who
shut
are
the fuck.
unaffiliated.
Why is this guy? Get him off the stage. CNN, who does this serve? There is no such thing. Okay? There is no independent run. It's not real. Shut the fuck up. There is no like moderate centrist voter. It's not real. What voters perceive as being moderate is not whatever this fucking asshole is talking about. Okay? What voters perceive as moderate is Zohran Mamdani. What voters perceive as moderate used to be Donald Trump. I'm going to be honest with you. I think you just don't fucking pay attention to this shit. Okay? That's it. That's my attitude on this. Like this whole like, ooh, condemn this now. Like, no, don't play that fucking game. Okay? Because Republicans never do. Republicans never do. Yeah, I'll condemn it. I'll condemn it when the Republicans get together and fucking censure Randy Fine. How about that? Censure Randy Fine and I'll condemn it every damn day of the week. How about that? Yeah, you first. But of course, Democrats will absolutely eat the bait, as they always do, to be like, oh, look at me. I'm so good. I'm so good. Like, even if it's objectionable, which it is, okay? It is objectively objectionable speech. Democrats constantly just fucking engage in this dumbass game where they lose all the fucking time. Republicans never do. Learn from the Republicans. Okay? Yeah, the teacher's pet instinct latent in the Democratic Party. Also, I think even if they did condemn her, it might actually work in her favor. I'm going to say it one more time. I think she might be the perfect candidate for San Antonio. Not for me. Not for me. I don't agree. But San Antonio might be different. That's all I'm saying. We've never had something like this. We've never had a real, true Marjorie Taylor Greene style candidacy. Like, complete reversal of Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? Where you got a person who is like hyper woke on every issue and then perhaps maybe fell off the deep end on some others. Look at the map. Is San Antonio and half of Austin? She's absolutely perfect for those votes. JW Panzer, you probably say the same stuff about me if I wanted to run. Like what? You're gonna fucking run and be like, yeah, we need to castrate Zionist Jewish pedophile billionaires? That's an insane thing to say, chatter. What the fuck is wrong with you? You want to set up, even if it's not for the way she set it up. She said she wants to take the, I mean, this is her post, by the way. That's why I'm saying like it's kind of crazy. Okay? When Maureen gets in the Congress, she'll write legislation so that all Zionism and support for Zionism is undoubtedly anti-Semitic since the Zionists harming the Semites. She'll turn Carnes ICE detention center into a prison for American Zionists and former ICE officers for human trafficking. It will be a castration process center for pedophiles, which will probably be most of the Zionists. Streets are saying you're misquoting Maureen. No, she in other instances she talked about like control over Hollywood and the banking system and stuff like that. Yes, she's a Professor Young fan. Quite honestly, there are violent and unpredictable mutations of U.S. politics underway in many different directions that could make the current period seem relatively stable and placid. I agree with this assessment. Is Wemby endorsing her? I don't think so.
Trump's endorsement in some of these races, we know that he's endorsed in that Senate race. Does it make a difference?
Maureen Galindo is a perfect example of what happens when contradictions worsen and there isn't enough class consciousness and political education. A lot of you think I'm on some nerdy shit when I say it's very important to engage in the theory and develop a fully fleshed out way of thinking about these sorts of things. Okay? But that's what happens when you're rudderless, when you just like kind of experience the contradictions, and she certainly has. I mean, she was homeless for a period of time and doesn't have the appropriate political language and doesn't have the appropriate political education. It's important not to fall victim to the dude, she's getting a Mersheimer interview too. The crank is too strong. Wait, what? She's not getting a Mersheimer interview. She is? Mersheimer's going to talk to her before me.
They're certainly seeing a lot of it. It's unclear, though, how much it is really swaying the way that people are thinking about this election, I will tell you. But, of course, we're in Buckhead, so we're just outside of Atlanta. So it'll be interesting to see what folks in the rest of the state are thinking as well.
Priscilla Thompson live for us there in Georgia. Priscilla, thank you very much. 15 minutes now until the polls close.
She's going on the PBD Valuetainment podcast next week. Oh, my God.
In that state, we will be watching that very closely.
Yes, as we continue to watch what's happening in Georgia. Ryan Nobles joining us at the table.
Nice of you to join.
Great to see you. Let's start with Georgia, since we just heard from Priscilla there. You heard about the enthusiasm on the ground. This is one of the fascinating races that we're watching as Republicans try to unseat Senator Jon Ossoff. And again, it bears repeating, President Trump did not endorse in this Senate race. So you have two representatives running against former football coach Derek Dooley, who was endorsed by Governor Brian Kemp. I guess the question is, will that give Derek Dooley any momentum? And is this actually a gettable seat for Republicans? Well, Jon Ossoff's pretty popular.
Yeah, I think we should take a step back and talk about Brian Kemp's role in all of this. Before he endorsed Derek Dooley, he was heavily recruited by the Republican leadership to run himself. He's a very popular governor in that state, would have probably easily won this race against Jon Ossoff if he had decided to get in. But for whatever reason, he decided he did not want to be a United States Senator and decided to sit it out. That was a huge loss in the recruitment efforts for Senate Republicans.
For a guy who's got an 85% approval rating among Republicans in that state, that's huge.
Exactly. And somebody who has successfully found a way to buck Donald Trump on occasion and still maintain a level of popularity among Republican voters. He was really the dream candidate for the Republican Party in a state like Georgia, which, even though it tilts red, has proven to be a swing state, especially in these statewide elections. So that was the first difficult entry that the Republicans had into this Senate race. The second thing was that they couldn't get Donald Trump to pick a candidate. And Brian Kemp desperately wanted him to endorse Derek Dooley, who was the guy that he went out as a childhood friend, the son of a very popular football coach there. And Trump just wasn't interested. You have Mike Collins, who kind of identifies himself as a MAGA guy, and then Buddy Carter, who's been able to self-finance and is a kind of little-known congressman without a ton of name recognition statewide. So this became a jumbled mess for Republicans. And what has Jon Ossoff done while they've been fighting this out? He's just been giving big speeches, drawing big crowds, and raising tens of millions of dollars to position himself for the general election.
By the way, we can't get another minute into this Georgia conversation without saying the word runoff, right? Because 50 plus 1, right? So you're looking at, is it going to be maybe Collins plus either Dooley, Carter, who knows, based on where the polling has been. The interesting piece of this, you look at Georgia, you also look, I'm keeping an eye on the clock here because Kentucky polls close in about 13 minutes, and they're a state that can sometimes get vote count in, as Steve Kornacki knows, fairly quickly. When you look at that race, I mean, you cover Congressman, everybody knows your day job as our chief Capitol Hill correspondent. You're there talking to him all the time. You're talking to, a number of these people who are part of that group. Massey prides himself on being this kind of guy who's a libertarian streak. The Gowron campaign thinks that is actually going to be a liability for him in this state.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be tested here tonight. Kentucky voters have a way of beating to their own drum. And you look at that with the folks that already represent them. Senator Rand Paul is not someone who votes with Donald Trump every single time. He prides himself on being a libertarian. Massey is very much in that mold. And so I think that, while Massey has proven to find a way to chart his own path here, it could come at a cost. I think the big difference between Tom Massey and what we saw with Bill Cassidy over the weekend is that Cassidy bucked Trump.
Sitting incumbent senator, of course, in Louisiana.
Who lost his primary over the weekend. Cassidy initially bucked Trump when he voted to convict him in the wake of January 6th. He spent every minute after that doing everything he could to get back into his good graces. It wasn't enough. Tom Massey's taken a different approach. He said, this is who I am.
That's right.
This is what I'm going to vote for. Take me or leave me. We'll have to see if that sort of authenticity resonates with voters tonight.
Do you have plans for the next 7 hours of your life?
As long as it's with the two of you.
Okay, good.
Those are the only plans I have.
Get comfortable, Ryan Nobles. Let's go back to Steve Kornacki.
I'm going to have
because I know
sex
you're
with you.
getting
That's what Thomas
vote
Massey
from
said.
Kentucky, but also from Georgia. What are you watching right now?
Yeah, I mean, just to take you through quickly a little bit more here in Kentucky 4. We don't have new vote in, but one other thing to flag, because there is some population and there is some vote here, and I didn't mention it before. This is Greenup County. This is in the eastern Kentucky coalfield. This is coal country in Kentucky here, and like 6% or so of the vote in the district is going to come out of this county tonight. Again, you're like Portsmouth, Ohio is up here, Huntington, West Virginia is over here, and I only flag this because, again, look at what Galrine is getting with the vote that's reported out so far, a 20-point margin over Massey. This, unlike the Cincinnati suburbs and unlike the Louisville suburbs I was talking about, this is sort of the Trump country portion of the district. More blue collar, more rural. We talk about that degree divide in politics and Republican politics. Much higher concentration of voters without college degrees here. So again, even in this part of the district here, you see Galrine, the Trump-endorsed candidate, with a 20-point advantage. There are a fair number of counties, going across the span of the district here that are somewhat like Greenup. And they're much more Trump-friendly demographically. So that's the other piece of it. Galrine getting that bump out of Kenton County early, but also out in Trump country doing a little bit better there. And there are other places like that, too. The other thing to keep in mind, we showed you Kenton County. That is the early vote in Kenton County. Most of the vote in Kentucky is conducted same day. People going out and voting in person at the polls today. One thing we saw in Louisiana over the weekend, and we've seen in some of these other Republican primaries, the pro-Trump side, when we've seen these races where Trump is going after Republican lawmakers in primaries.
No, I'm not. I'm not doing the Tom Steyer thing because we have to shoot the podcast tonight. Because some people are leaving for vacation. Austin. Yeah.
Election day vote has been the kind that would be friendly to Galrine, more friendly to him than Massey. It'll have to be different than that, probably, for Massey tonight to have a shot here.
Okay, so polls close in the entire state of Kentucky in just about 9 minutes from now.
Fun reacts. You are referenced at 5:30. The Korean Peninsula is a massive social experiment.
Always exist for the country.
What is
Hearing
this?
these descriptions makes it seem like both Koreas are equally dramatic dystopias. But it's not so simple. No matter what self-proclaimed American commies sipping matcha lattes in Starbucks on their MacBooks have to say, North Korea is a systemic human rights crisis run by a brutal dictatorship. But it's also a place where real people live and adapt. Everyone.
That's it? Wait, who else? These guys? They put me in there, and then who's the other person?
American commies.
Anarchist cat owner and a dog abuser, radical commie. How the fuck do you guys? How do you even find this? It's crazy to me. What did you have to do? What did that have to do with you? Even I'm just a fucking stray all the time for radical, annoying communist from people who are very knowledgeable on all these issues that have anti-communist perspective. Community reference in 2026 is crazy. Yeah, y'all don't have to show me every time someone mentions me. I mean, it's funny, but what's the point of voting if Israel is buying seats? The whole point of voting is so that Israel doesn't buy these seats. What is this?
Oh no, it's
Okay. Yeah, honorary transgender, always catching strays. Yeah. I mean, I guess in some ways there was like a brief moment. That's not true. You are stray fucking everywhere with the Kage bullshit. I see you getting brought up in fucking baseball videos. Yeah, but the reason why is not because of the reason I'm public enemy number one, persona non grata for a lot of like centrists, liberals, everyone on the right pretty much because of my political opinions. And now it's just like a way to reference me whenever there's any sort of political conversation taking place about like wokeness or annoying leftists. They'll of course use the most common version, which is Kayagate. Yeah, it's a punchline. Which, you know, who gives a fuck? I don't think most people give a shit. We've been talking about Maureen Galindo, but we're forgetting the ancient texts. Cynthia McKinney, PhD. I know where I'll be and what I'll be watching at 6 p.m. Eastern time today. Can black people and white people work together to defeat our common enemy? You need to get Chris Hedges or something to help you out with Finkelstein. Norm sees the new right wing use Palestinians to advance right wing politics and said how to fight it. And it's one to one what his stream is what this stream is doing. He thinks you're a poser. 99% meant you. Wouldn't that at least be on the same page of being a good thing? Old man is active as hell. Monday, September 11th, Jews are the problem. Ayo Kamathi, aka irritated genie of Sophisi. Graphic design is my passion too, and is David Duke's passion apparently. I think it's just that there's no picture of David Duke that makes him look human. I know he always looks, especially after he got jacked. Member of Congress and Green presidential candidate, by the way, for those who don't know.
Right. Political analyst, also hanging out with us for the duration of the evening. So let me, Ashley, I'll start with you on what we just heard from Mike Thurman in that Q&A session with Kristen and I here. You got this sort of, if a big thing.
Oh, by the way, before we get into the fucking live coverage of the primaries, Jasmine Crockett endorsed Javier Becerra for governor today. Edinger Menta says, this is the actual face of the establishment wing of the Democratic Party today, not David Shore or Matt Iglesias or any other pundit who says they've learned from past mistakes. Yeah, it's beast mode time. Anyway, how the fuck do we... Oh, because Ken Paxton we were talking about.
Today we...
All right, let's see what Jedediah Dickhead Vance had to say about the president endorsing Ken Paxton.
We saw the president endorse Ken Paxton over John Cornyn in the Texas Senate race. Do you think that sends a message going forward for the next cycle to senators, you know, considering running for re-election, or any mega-aligned potential candidates that are considering challenging them?
Well, I'd say a couple things, Nick. First of all, I think the president's very gratified by the response that he's heard from the base and from a lot of voters, I think, who are passionate about Ken Paxton. We think Ken Paxton is going to be a great senator for the people of Texas, but most importantly, a great United States senator who can work on solving the problems that all of us confront as a country together. I've known John Cornyn for a long time, but unfortunately, you know, when it really counted, Ken Paxton was there for the country, was there for the president, and that's why he ultimately earned the president's endorsement. He thinks he's going to be a better senator, thinks he's going to make a better candidate, and so I do think it sends a message, but really not just the
Amy
endorsement,
McGrath?
but one of the things the president has done very effectively, going back 10 years in his leadership of the Republican Party and the country as president of the United States, is he said, you know, I want people who fight for...
I'm done. I mean, it's early. It's too soon to tell. But God damn it! Fuck you! Fuck you, Democratic primary voters! Fuck you! What? What the hell is going on? It's 3%. I know. That means 5,317 Kentucky primary voters were like, oh my God, Amy McGrath, that's awesome. She has a real shot this time. Let's give her $10 more million. Toddler in a suit. Oh my God. Yes, I am a fucking baby in a suit. Who's this Amy person? We're not terminally online. Man, this has nothing to do with being terminally online. Amy McGrath is a very famous case of Democratic Party failures. A very famous case of here. This is Amy McGrath. This is Amy McGrath.
Husband's hometown. Look up at the vast sky and hear an awful sound. 4 Hellfire missiles in the sky. I watch my life flash before my eyes. But at least there's one huge plus. We know that the bomber was a gay woman, drone pilot. Hashtag girl boss. A gay woman, drone pilot. Hashtag girl boss.
Anyway. Yeah, it's because I hate girl bosses. That's why. That's why. That's why. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Most Dem voters from Louisville and Fayetteville and Kentucky. Those will come later. I'm pretty sure she has an advantage with black vote. He has an advantage with black voters in Kentucky. Yeah. Oh, Booker McGrath primary in 2026 is the closest thing imaginable to watching Carmelo Anthony and Chris Paul face off in 2021. Like I found a time machine. At least Charles Booker has like some, unique qualities. Okay. At least there's something there, Amy McGrath has nothing. Just a fucking failure. McGrath outraised McConnell by more than $32 million. Nevertheless, on November 3rd, McGrath lost to McConnell by a margin of nearly 20 percentage points. What the fuck? Honestly, it's not a third time's the charm type situation. It's like if that margin of defeat happens with the unbelievable amounts of funds that you've raised, you should be barred by the party. This is what I mean when I say the Democratic Party is not a real fucking party, okay? It's just not. It's not a real party at all because a real party would be like, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? Amy McGrath is literally the classic example of let's run someone who is a centrist, right-wing, annoying, boring, moderate liberal, and that will certainly activate the base. It's just a failure. And that's the Mitch McConnell, who was a fucking corpse at that point. The DNC elevated Amy and Harrison because they can raise money but get nuked. That's all they care about. Yeah. Yeah, and guess what happened with Jamie Harrison? He became the fucking DNC chair. Same thing happened with Harrison against Lindsey Graham. And they were like, oh my God, you're such a graceful loser. We're going to make you the fucking DNC chair. Oh. George Washington. I don't know who this is. But this is also kind of interesting because okay, so Trump endorsed Andy Barr. You might be wondering why Trump endorsed Andy Barr. That's because Daniel Cameron is the former Republican Attorney General of the state, and Daniel Cameron was Mitch McConnell's personally groomed candidate for this seat. Okay? And Donald Trump fucking hates Mitch McConnell. So he's like, fuck you, Daniel Cameron. George Washington is the first president of the United States. Hope this helps. Thank you. You're saying you don't know the big GW on the 250th anniversary? Jesus. Yeah. But it's good. It's good because Daniel Cameron is a fucking demon, okay? Daniel Cameron, famously, as the Attorney General of the state of Kentucky, overturned a ballot measure that was supposed to constitutionally enshrine abortion access and abortion protection for the fucking state. Genuine demonic entity. It's fucking bullshit, these guys. They're all fucking assholes. They're all evil. Andy Carr, stop. Oh my God. Galrain won? I don't think we know yet.
We've been working overtime since August of last year, since we launched this race, and we've talked about my record in the state house.
Daniel
and what we've done in the
Camry?
General Assembly,
Daniel
and
Camaro,
certainly what I
stop
plan to do in
it!
Congress and work alongside the president. But his endorsement has been an incredible
Thomas
boost to
Chassis?
our race, and we feel really good about where we are. We're looking forward to seeing results come in here any minute, and looking forward to winning this thing and having the opportunity to go to Congress and work alongside the president.
Chris Rav, Hasanabi bump, yes. Toyota RAV4. Chris Rav4.
We too, sir, are eager for the results to come in, and we've got Steve Kornacki at the board watching it all. I wonder, though, and listen, I totally take the point that, you know, local politics is a lot different sometimes than what folks on the national level are talking about. But, you know, you're part of
Amy McLaren.
Your early 30s, new wave, new generation of the Republicans coming in. New York Times poll out today shows most young Republicans
In the
want the party to move
state of Kentucky
here and not simply follow the president's lead. So I'll ask here, where do you think there may be a split with President Trump on some of these key issues that people care about, like the economy, like the war against Iran, et cetera?
Well, I think that what the president's done has worked, and I think the agenda, you know, it's certainly like the war in Iran. We've got more time that certainly before the midterms, and I think that what the president has done and what's going to happen is going to end up being a successful. It's already been successful, but certainly what the president's moving forward on, I think, is the right thing for our country for the long term, to make sure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. And certainly, I think on the economy, like what we've done here in Georgia and what the One Big Beautiful Bill did in Congress, you know, those are long-term fiscal policies that take a little bit of time to implement. But it's my belief that as young people, I am 31, it's my belief as young people in my age bracket learn, and as we do a better job of telling our message, we're going to win young voters across this country, I think, in November and moving forward. We just got to make sure we're telling our story, telling what we've done, and continue to get things done when we're elected in Congress. And
Toyotathon Massey. Okay, CNN is copying the Kornacki live stream concept. Steve is not live today. Steve is not live today on his own. Interesting.
What's going to happen there? So we'll watch that play out there.
My
Another
goat,
big
John
thing
King.
We'll look at is out here, and I'll break this one down in a minute. This is Lewis County. This is where Tom Massey served as a county judge before he came to Congress. It's also a county where Donald Trump in 2024, Aaron, got 87% of the vote. So there's your rural test out here in Trump. This is more of your suburban test right here. I just want to go back and let's just blank this out and take a look. Again, you come here. We have no votes out here right now. If Tom Massey loses his home county, can he win the district? Primary? Maybe, but that's the biggest test, right? These are the people who know him best, and where Trump got 87%. You talk about a president versus a congressman. That's a big deal right there. And if you want to come in here, let's see where we do have votes in the Cincinnati suburbs. It's 23%. No. We have a ways to go. If I'm in the Massey campaign headquarters, though, this does trouble me because this is where you need to win. This is number one, the most populated area. Number two, these are more affluent, especially up close, the close-in suburbs here. More rural down here, but if you're the close-in suburbs, they're more affluent, suburban Ohio, outside of Cincinnati. Yes, they vote for Donald Trump in a general election, but you know this as well as I do, Aaron. These are some of the voters who really don't like how Donald Trump does his business, who don't like Trump on some character issues. They might like his tax policies, they might like other policies, but they don't really like how he conducts himself. Those are the kind of voters Tom Massey needs, that voters who would say, you know what, we like that he stands up to Trump every now and then. We like that he's a little different. We like that he's not afraid to be an individual. First votes have just come in over here in Boone County, and again, 36%. The challenger is ahead in a place where Tom Massey needs to win because that's where the most people live. We're not done. They could be from down here. I can't do precinct level at the Magic Wall, so they could be from the more rural areas down here. So we have to wait to see as it fills up. But you got 36% there, 23% there. That does not look good if you are. And then let's go over here. Again, I said the northeast Louisville suburbs, only 2%, but the challenger on top there as well. So the early look, Aaron, in the magic wall, as you start to fill in the numbers, is not good. I want to emphasize the early part. Early. But you're looking at this right now. What we need to see here is out here. This is a small county down here. I just tap on it to check on it, where 24% of the vote in. Spencer County, much more rural, much more Trumpy. The question is pretty simple. Are MAGA voters following Trump, or are MAGA voters trusting their local congressman? At the moment, here you would see that MAGA voters are listening to the president, who says it's time for a new voice. But we still have a ways to go. The early results, though, don't look great for Mr. Massey, but that's why we count. Right.
Oh, he's having a hard time filling dead air.
Yeah, there.
He's having a hard time filling dead air, dude.
I want people who can't be bought by corporate lobbyists, who can't be bought by Wall Street, who can't be bought by special interests, who are going to go to Washington and fight for the people who actually elected them to those positions. And I think one of the things we've...
Is that why? What do you think about Thomas Massey then, bitch?
Tonight, the California Fair Police...
Anyway, let's see what Kornacki's saying.
County in this district, Boone County, right outside Cincinnati. Almost a quarter of the vote is going to come out of Boone County tonight, and we got more than a third of the vote from that county, and you can see Galrine here leading that by about a 14 and a half point margin over Massey.
It's
You're
over.
looking at early vote. You are now looking at some of the election day vote here, too, so this is now a little bit of a mix of these two things we've been talking about. Not a huge difference between those two chunks of vote, and what that's done district-wide is it's moved Galrine into a 14-point advantage, but I think more significantly, we said at the start of the night, again, the supreme importance of these three metro Cincinnati counties here, especially to Massey. You know, the idea here that they were sort of a different brand, they're very Republican, but a different brand of Republican, a more libertarian brand, one that might be more willing to forgive sort of the places where he's departed from Trump and the Republican Party. But the results we're getting so far from Boone County, you see it right here. That's a big chunk of the vote that's now in Boone County, and next door from Kenton County, where we got about a quarter of the vote. Those are not the numbers that Massey wants to see right there. We also did get a little bit more vote in. Now, this is a smaller part of the district right here, but in Spencer County, again, this is the part of the district we said demographically would be more pro-Trump. Is delivering for Galrine. That's not a surprise there, but that's the mix in this district. You've got some metro areas around Louisville.
This is the Republican cattle side of the equation. Later in the night, we'll find out if Democrats are hogs too. Israel bought yet another seat successfully, by the way. Fuck American democracy at this point. It's over.
13% of the vote.
Good project. Good project. A lot of issues. Women couldn't vote. Black people couldn't vote for the longest time. We had like a good run. I think we had like a decent run for a couple decades in the experiment where there was an attempt at like a real democratic process. It's over. It's fucking done. It's so done.
Communities, it would have to be here. He'd want, I mean, based on what we've seen in Boone and based on what we're seeing in Kenton, I don't know what the expectations currently are in Campbell County, but he would want something out of Campbell County. Really what he needs is, we said that split between the early vote and the election day. He somehow, I think, needs these numbers to turn around here as more and more of that election day vote is counted. That would be counter to what we've seen in these other Republican primaries, but he probably needs something like that to happen.
All right, Steve Kornacki, stay close. We'll be back to you soon.
Because we also want to know what's going on with Georgia. What polls are closed there? Aaron Gilchrist is joining us now from a polling site in Jackson. You've got some interesting races on both sides of the aisle here, Republican and Democratic. Talk me through what you're hearing from voters as you're talking with them. I don't know if there's anybody still in line. They're probably on their way heading home at this point, huh?
You know what? We actually do have several people that are still inside this precinct here. This is the largest precinct here in Butts County, Georgia. We saw a line start building in the 6 o'clock hour, and suddenly it was stretching all the way the length of the administration building here. As we look inside the doors right now, the sheriff's office, they're only letting people leave at this point. We've had a few people walk up, and the deputy said, no, polls are closed. They're only letting people who are already in line finish up their voting here. I can tell you that here in Georgia, we've been able to find out about 2 incidents where we know the polls are going to be open late. In Cobb County, which is north of Atlanta, we know that there were some equipment issues at a couple of precincts there, and so they're going to be closing at different times through this hour. The last one closing at 8 o'clock. There's also one polling place in Fulton County, in Sandy Spring, Georgia, again, kind of north of the city of Atlanta, where there was police activity earlier that shut down a polling location. So that site will stay open until a little after 11 o'clock tonight, although we do still expect data to be rolling in. And I can tell you, as we've talked to voters here, a lot of folks who've been at this location walking into those doors, they have encountered these uber long ballots, Democrat, Republican, Independent, 3 ballots available for people here in Georgia. And depending on where you are in the state, if you're voting in the Republican primary,
T-minus 3 hours before the Jewish insider style think pieces come about how the people of Kentucky have spoken. They love Israel. Okay. Just wait. Just wait for all the think pieces. Because every time AIPAC secures a dub, these guys will come out and be like, see, this actually proves our priors that everybody actually loves Israel in the state of Kentucky.
So a chilly reception on the part of the old
news. Mary Madelson has spent so much money on my election. They're going to have to scale down that ballroom that she was paying for, and she was born in Israel.
Yeah.
That's the rhetoric today from Massey.
This is an experiment.
Oh my God. They're talking about how
like
anti-Semitic it
Tucker
is.
Carlson and Megyn Kelly, they're trying this out. And I think they each have their reasons. I think they're looking over at the left and seeing some of the division in the country over the issue of Gaza. I think it's much more prominent and fracturing on the left than it is on the right, but they're looking at that. I think some people like Tucker Carlson is trying to find a Trump alternative lane because I think he's
there is no fracture on the left. Liberals are united. It's a 90-10 issue. You can't say it's fracturing if it's 90-10. It's just the voters versus the politicians. Shut the fuck up!
Progressives, they found a real home and constituency for that anti-Israel message. They haven't found it yet on the right. That's what Tucker's project is. And I think Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene...
There is no fracturing. There's no fracturing on the left. It's united. The entire base is united on Israel. Every single person, pretty much, with the exception of 10%. The only fracture is between the voters and the elected.
This one's important because Trump had endorsed Andy Barr. This is Mitch McConnell's seat that he's retiring from. And again, Van, this is the Trump-supported candidate. We'll see what happens in Texas tonight, right, with that very late jump in against Cornyn for Paxton by Trump. But this is another victory for Trump here.
Yeah, and, but Barr was particularly adept at keeping the McConnell people with him. That was the thing that I thought was interesting, that he can actually... He's a very good politician because, and some people wanted to make it be kind of McConnell, the old, the establishment versus Trump. He split the baby and was able to pull it off. And so, yes, it's a big win for Trump, but also it's a win for Trump for somebody who also showed real respect, as much respect as you can, to McConnell in a state where McConnell's no longer popular.
And we've got obviously lots of results here in just a few moments. We're going to be going through what we're seeing coming in.
No, it's because Mitch McConnell was too woke for Kentucky, where he thought his groomed, his like personally hand-selected and groomed candidate is a black man. Okay, it's not even that for the most part. The reason why it's fucking Barr is because it's Trump. Okay, that's like, look at that. Mitch McConnell's own hand-selected guy, who was the motherfucking attorney general in the state, can't even break 30%. Wow. Mitch McConnell was an institution in this goddamn state that his fucking carcass put 30 points on Amy McGrath. Okay, his goddamn carcass put 30 points on Amy McGrath, even though Amy McGrath had outraised Mitch McConnell by $30 million. It's a goddamn cult, man. It is a goddamn cult. That's it.
Continue to do.
But you're saying that as a veteran? Is that what I mean?
I'm saying that as an American. I mean, you don't send your Secretary of Defense to campaign against your political enemies. Pete Hegseth should be fighting our foreign enemies. He should be worried about Iran, not Tom Massey. This is a weaponization of the entire Defense Department and the narrative nationally, which is absolutely out of bounds and very, very dangerous.
You know, something on kind of the Cassidy switching his vote. I mean, I think that in some ways, we can explain the political incentives. We know that now frees him to kind of act on this kind of populist sentiment, but it's the exact type of thing that I think folks recognize that drives their sickness with politicians, right? Like, this is a electoral decision that was already, that I think for a lot of people just shows the fecklessness of a lot of these sort of leaders, that when Donald Trump can no longer hold it on to you, then you're kind of empowered to act on something. Then they're like there to act. So I'm saying in some ways, you know, I mean, kudos for maybe Cassidy for reflecting what we know is a true sentiment among Republicans. But I think it's really a story about the cowardice of Congress largely and how gerrymandering has structurally built in their ability to not lead.
I think that's a really important point, and I think a lot of voters are going to see it that way. But also, just on the math, it is really fun to imagine a Cassidy or a Cornyn, who will also win or lose, be around for the year, deciding to really kind of mess with Trump for the year on things like the ballroom funding, war funding, judicial and cabinet appointments. I mean, you're right about the sort of, you know, the cravenness of it, but I hear you. Around and find out when you go
politicians being crazy isn't necessarily breaking news.
But there's another massive open space too, which is underserved, which is the angry middle, right? The 45% of America that's unaffiliated and independent, millions that can't vote in these primaries are fed up with all. The question is, does Massey leave the party? Does someone like Don Bacon leave the party? Does someone on the left like Jaron Golden leave the party? Because there is a huge middle that is longing for people to run against both parties and the broken primary system, which accelerates, I think, 90% of congressional campaigns are over after the primary, 80% of Senate campaigns. So most of the state in Kentucky didn't even vote. And they have a new congressman potentially that they had no say in. That's broken. And tonight is really a glaring example of how broken our electoral system is.
And we'll see here as these numbers come in Kentucky, of course, also Georgia, Texas. And next, our breaking news coverage of all of this continues here. I'm going to speak to the former Republican Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan of Georgia, because guess what? To your point, he's now running as and we are getting more results out of Kentucky, where Thomas Massey is fighting, and he is fighting right now. These numbers are just coming in, those early numbers. We'll see what happens here as we start to get some really big numbers coming in those suburbs in more full. We'll bring them to you next.
I'm surprised they haven't called it yet. Silent exhaust coupe, a steam engine, SE cussy. Stop. Oh my God, bro. Stop it. Thomas chassis is better.
That's not healthy. It's at 36%. You know, if at home you're thinking, well, when do you think it's going to stick? I tend to be conservative because we've had the 2000 election, we've had 2016. I lived through the Perot election back in 1992, hanging chads in 2000 and all of that. So I tend to be conservative. Why not do the math? Why try to get out ahead of yourself? But sometimes your eyes don't lie and you just see the dynamic that's happening. And the question, as you look through these, so we have the one, this is one of the things that gives you pause. Okay, he's winning that one county. Are we going to have a trade-off?
Bro, it's over. It's fucking over. I don't even know what they're counting at this point.
I'm going to pop out for a little bit. They're going to yell at me if TV wants me or whisper to me. They're polite. I just want to see just a few other things we have down here as we go through this. This, to me, is one of the biggest things we have in the campaign, in the issues. Now, the Democrats are not going to come up. We're in the state of Kentucky, so I'm going to come out and I'll come to nationally. This is the biggest issue in the campaign. You hear people talking all the time about affordability, right? And so in the United States, the cost of living has increased faster than wages by 1.75 times. You're all living this, whether you're a Democrat or an independent. Your costs are outpacing your wages. Now, there's some counties in America where that's not true.
Israel, alongside Donald Trump, because this isn't just about Israel, it's also Donald Trump as well. But the reason why Donald Trump is at odds with Thomas Massey is because of Israel, because Donald Trump is a fucking dog to Israel, okay? Israel has bought yet another fucking congressional seat. Straight up. I don't think they have that same motion in the Democratic primaries anymore. But it's very clear that they still, by way of Donald Trump, have a complete stranglehold on Republicans. It's not going to change anything at the legislative level because, they lose one vote. Like Israel has bought another vote for Congress, right? But it is in fucking sanity how brazen it is. It proves once again that these guys are cattle, that Republican voters in Kentucky are just straight up in a cult.
The Iran war and a lot of these green counties, this is just guessing, but I've been in a lot of these places, you're driving more. If you live in rural America, and if you drive more, it's pretty obvious you spend a lot more money on gas. So I just want to show you some of the fun things we can do in the magic wall as we go through things. And now let's come back to where we are at the moment. There's the Senate races, House Republicans. Let's just come into tonight so we can just watch tonight. Back to Kentucky. 19%. Now you're starting to get nervous if you're in the Massey campaign headquarters because you're up to 20%.
King is so uncomfortable, it's kind of funny.
They're telling me if I just want to take a break, I can just say I want to take a break. Now it's hot in here, so you see me sweating a little bit. But I don't need to take a break. 7:40 is my next hit on EBUF. That's a whole 15 minutes. What do you guys want to do? You want to go for a beer? It's one of the things we talk about. Probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. One of the things we talk about all the time. People think this, it's not really magic, right? It's not really magic, but we think like if it was really magic, the martini dispenser or...
Oh my God, John King is so uncomfortable doing a live stream. Kornacki is such a numbers autist that he can just go for hours. John King is like, I'm shaking a little bit. This guy's been doing this forever. How to get worse? You don't understand. There's a difference between a pre-canned segment where you talk for like 10 minutes about the numbers that are in front of you in 10-minute instances versus doing a live, sequential, multiple hour long, like we're going through this live stream and having to entertain, having to deliver information for fucking hours and hours and hours is unbelievably difficult.
Money guys to now heavily invest in Texas in a way that they didn't have to before because of Paxton's candidacy and the fact that he is not the same level of candidate that John Cornyn is in a general election. But I'm going to tell you, Kristen, one of the things that a lot of these folks that we talked to on Capitol Hill today are nervous about is that the big money folks are not going to be as willing to open up their pocketbooks to support a Ken Paxton campaign in the same way that they would of a John Cornyn campaign. So that makes it more difficult for the Republicans. So what does that mean? That doesn't mean they're not going to, give to these Republican super PACs, but it means those Republican super PACs are going to have to spend money that they would have spent in North Carolina or in Maine. Now they have to spend that in Texas.
Don't get mad at me, but I have to ask.
Do you condemn Arsenal? No. Adam Friedland and Zoran love Arsenal, so I guess I'm a gooner myself.
We're talking about Kentucky, Amy McGrath. I know we haven't talked about that race on the Democratic side much with Andy Barr there, but like.
So I actually, in preparation for today, I reached out.
Oh my gosh! Look at you.
I reached out to some Democrats just to ask that question.
Sure. Right.
Do you think there's any shot in Kentucky? And these were from Democrats, not Republicans.
Okay.
And
a state where we've called Andy Barr projected to be the Republican.
The universal assessment was it would have to be an incredibly good night for Democrats if they were to take Kentucky. Yes, Democrats have won there before. Democrats, first of all, have to hold a number of seats and then have to play offense in a couple of places. Kentucky is behind Iowa. It's behind Alaska.
That was by far your worst take, including 820. Economic conditions are horrible. I'm going to hell for sending my application to McKinsey. I mean, I don't know, man. Fuck it, we ball, I guess. It doesn't really, what matters anymore? It doesn't matter. I think both parties are run by a cult, and we're about to find out if the Democratic Party's entrenched power still has the same level of motion over its voters or if we can have an insurgent victory here. I'm really, really holding out hope for Chris Rabb, but it's very clear to me that the Republicans are gone. It's over. It has never been more over than ever before. I don't think that a Democrat can ever win another Republican voter as long as Trump is alive. Doesn't look good in GA Supreme Court. GOP Inc. ahead. Bethel at 58, 4% reported. Over Rankin. Warren at 65 over Jordan. Jesus Christ. I mean, this probably, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, but next polls are closing in 30
People say, okay,
minutes.
look, Lieutenant Governor at that time, popular Republican administration, all of a sudden now a Democrat. How much does President Trump have to do with your decision to switch parties?
It's certainly part of it. I mean, the sitting president trying to steal an election as a statewide elected official like I was, certainly is part of it. But I think it's the toxic, corrosive leadership style that's spread like an infection across all Republicans in all circles. It's really just been an unfortunate series of missteps by them. And I think as I travel around the state running for governor as a proud Democrat, folks are wanting to talk about issues that Donald Trump and other Republicans aren't talking about. The affordability crisis, the healthcare crisis, and yes, the Donald Trump crisis, which even Republicans agree is a crisis at this point.
So you're one of the main Democratic candidates for governor in Georgia. Obviously, it's a very crowded field. We've just got early numbers coming in. Obviously, Keisha Lance Bottoms is way ahead on these early numbers, 66%. You're on the board there. Trump has called you out as a failed former lieutenant governor. He's called you a total lightweight. He's called you a total loser, all of which is obviously consistent with words he uses to describe opponents or people who've challenged him. Has that helped you out at all in this race?
Yeah, everywhere I go, I get, pats on the back, thanks for your courage to stand up to Donald Trump. And the reality is almost everybody that I meet would have done exactly the same thing. Most people don't wake up wanting to tell bold-faced lies about an election or try to steal an election or be willing to embrace conspiracy theories that make no sense. And so that's certainly been part of the story. But I think it's also about we all need to have more political courage in this tough moment. I mean, Donald Trump is the worst decision this country's ever made. And even Republicans are figuring that out firsthand. And so we've got to have honest umpires that show up and be able to call balls and strikes, right? In Georgia, expanding Medicaid is a must. Republicans have lost the narrative. I was on the other side of this argument for a number of years, and I was wrong. The same with affordability crisis.
They're
we can no
winning in
longer
deep blue
demonize
districts.
poverty. We've got to figure out ways and solutions to.
Democratic-backed judicial candidates are in a difficult position. Warren is winning a D+52. Douglas County dropped by 15 points, suggesting the late effort to inform Democratic voters, including Obama's involvement, did not translate into enough support. What the fuck? Dude, the Democrats, man. Wow. I mean, what do I say? What do I say? I mean, they have literally all the advantages, dude. They have literally every advantage. This shows a severe lack of investment in basic political education, given that nonpartisan races in other states easily track one-to-one with partisanship. Abrams left the Georgia Democratic Party a complete trash heap. The exact same thing happened with Barrow in 2024. This has been a known problem for years now. Democratic-backed judicial candidates were, I guess, they didn't inform the voters fast enough or well enough. I don't understand. Yo, Trump is right, dude. It is the Democrats. It is the motherfucking Democrats, bro.
Mouthpiece anywhere. So my feelings about limited government, deregulation, protectionism, lowering the debt and the deficit, strong national defense, taxes, none of that's changed. Therefore, I won't go and become a Democrat. But I understand, I think this goes to the brokenness of politics. You can't run and win as an independent. It's really hard to do. And we can lament that, and that might not always be the case. But you've kind of got to pick a party. But in that case, it says to me, what do the parties even mean then? What's the point of them? Unless they're just fundraising machines.
It's a nonpartisan election, so they don't have a D or an R next to their name. The Georgia Democratic Party is uniquely bad, too. They left it a mess. I live in Georgia, and there was no Democratic voter. My job even said the same thing. Largest employer in GA. It's sad. Yeah, I mean, it's.
Janet
I don't know
Mills,
what to say.
she didn't work out. I just think you're sort of, there's Trump, he's the party. And Democrats are kind of trying to figure out, well, what is our part? What's the point of our party? This is not an indictment on Jeff.
All right, Booker's
I'm just
closing
saying,
in.
Like, 30,000 foot view. This kind of stuff makes you feel like, what's
how
the point
many
of parties?
people, though, when you think about, and I want to get Jeff back in here, but how many people, Van, when, Trump will cite, as he loves to cite again and again and again, the NBC crosstab in the poll that had him at 100% approval rating among MAGA Republicans, okay? And we're seeing that maybe in seating Cassidy, and you're seeing, who knows what we'll see tonight, but you're seeing some of that. But then you do see a lot of people who are really angry in the middle, many of whom might have been moderate or Romney-like Republicans or Brian Kemp-like Republicans like Jeff Duncan in Georgia. Where are they going?
Well, I mean, I think they're either becoming independent or joining our party. But I think, there's a few things that are happening here. You do have a challenge now in both parties. America's great because of free markets, rule of law, and if you're a hard worker, you're welcome here no matter what your color is. Well, look, you've got now some of the Democratic Party want to move away from free markets. You talk about Mamdani, they're moving towards socialism. You have some people in the Republican Party who are so nativist, they don't even want skilled immigrants. They're mad at Indians, tech workers coming over here. So you're starting to see people in both parties moving away from the things that used to be pretty strong. And so it does give people not that many places to go. You're an independent.
The only thing less popular than Donald Trump is the Democratic Party. And the future is SE Cup. The future is the 45% of Americans who are unaffiliated.
Why is this guy? Get him off the stage. CNN, who does this serve? There is no such thing. Okay? There is no independent run. It's not real. Shut the fuck up. There is no moderate centrist voter. It's not real. What voters perceive as being moderate is not whatever this fucking asshole is talking about. Okay? What voters perceive as moderate is Zohran Mamdani. What voters perceive as moderate used to be Donald Trump.
Obviously, if you look at a state like Georgia, and Jeff, I would imagine you don't have a choice, right? There's party apparatus, and if you want to win something, you've got to pick a lane. I mean, Jeff, do you think when you look at two Democratic senators, and we know that the John Ossoff seat is obviously Democrats have to retain it to control the Senate, possibly you could have a Democrat become governor. I mean, do you believe that Georgia, which was so red and then became purple, is actually more of a blue purple now?
He's a Hasanabi head? I don't think so.
The calculus I made was that the average Democratic Georgian was more moderate than the national Democratic platform. And I think going to SE's comments, I think we have to detach at the state.
God, what a fucking terrible day for fake-ass American theoretical democracy. Direction, don't you have a woke libtard article to write? What is that? Paul Reichoff, he's done great work for veterans, but his poor centrist takes sometimes. Not a Hasanabi head, but he's fine. He was on Majority Report a few years ago, and Sam ripped into him. Q was right. Look at the front runner for lieutenant governor in Georgia. Yeah. Where is lieutenant governor? Josh McLaurin? Wait. Keep going. John Fitzgerald Kennedy? What the fuck? John Fitzgerald Kennedy? He's back? Wow. They're going to dig that poor man out of the ground for this?
Coming in from Kentucky here, starting to get more coming in. Our John came by at the Magic Wall, going to show us the latest. What does it mean for Trump's relentless battle against fellow Republican Thomas Massie? And Harry Enton on that major Trump endorsement last minute in the Texas Senate race today. So does that mean Democrats actually just got a big pickup in their chances of getting a Senate seat there?
Why We Dream premieres Memorial Day at 8 on CNN and next day on the CNN app.
So much stuff.
Move past pain with Vicks VapoFreeze. Get hours of pain relief with maximum strength menthol, plus powerful Vicks Vapors.
College!
VapoFreeze your pain.
There have always been two kinds of people in the world.
Booker just took over McGrath. Fox Live breaking news. We Are Charlie Kirk reggae remix. Okay, Charles Booker has overtaken Amy McGrath. Stop the count. Stop the count. Stop the count. And the votes. Call it. The mostly final election day numbers are in. Per state official, Democrats make up 49.3% of election day votes, slightly edging Republicans who account for 48.2%. The remainder are folks who pulled nonpartisan ballots. In a state where Republicans typically outpoll Democrats on election day, this is a big deal. GA poll. Wow. Officials say Democrats are now slightly leading Republicans at election day vote with about 770,000 ballots cast so far. That's on top of the 150K D-edge during early vote period. This could have big implications for the Georgia Supreme Court races. Georgia Democrats are aggressively campaigning to unseat two sitting Supreme Court justices in marked escalation in officially nonpartisan races, long treated as sleepy, low-profile contests. The mostly final election day numbers are up. Weren't we just dooming? Yeah, well, the nonpartisan votes they might have actually fucked up on. The Supreme Court votes. I'm pretty sure the Supreme Court votes didn't work, regardless of the fact that there are more Democrats voting than Republicans. All right, let's see what John King is saying.
14 hours on election nights. They're standing with me throughout this. They are the heroes of television. They really are. Everything you see at home, I'm just the guy. I'm sorry for the tie, actually. I wouldn't wear a tie on this normally, but I have to do the TV thing, the dinosaur TV thing. It's a joke. But it's the people who are on television, you know our names for better or worse. You know our faces for better or worse. Some days you like us, some days you don't. That's fine. I get it completely. But I hope you understand just the same place you work too.
Oh my God, he is not all right, dude. Just get this man off the TV. He's falling apart.
He doesn't make a fast decision, so he's watched this. He said he was going to endorse after the first primary. I think he got a little frustrated. He's had relationships close with both individuals in the race, and I think he knew this could make a difference.
Do you think James Tallarico has a shot? That Texas has been out of reach for Democrats. Even Beto O'Rourke, as Ryan was saying, got close maybe, but not close enough by any stretch.
I'm from Florida, and Florida and Texas have a lot of similarities. I was absolutely shocked today when the president made the decision.
By the endorsement or by who he endorsed?
When he made the decision to endorse, period.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Because Kevin's right, early voting has started. Why would you do it now? But I got to let you know, Texas is still hard. But Democrats are celebrating this endorsement. I really do believe when you look at the kind of candidate that Tallarico is, that he does have. Now, we take nothing for granted. This is tough stuff, but I do believe he has a real shot at winning Texas.
Mr. Speaker, can I ask you, if you can put on your hat of electing House Republicans, because that's what you did better than anybody.
Only leader to always win seats.
That's right. That's right.
Even when Democrats won the presidency.
So put yourself back in that position, and you see Donald Trump and his political arm investing $30 million. It's going to be the most expensive House primary in American history in a seat to remove a Republican to elect another Republican. Would that frustrate you at all, especially in the political environment that House Republicans are facing right now?
Look, I expect the leader to work closely with the president. And it's not that you wait till the last minute and the president makes some decision. I would work with him all the way through. There were no surprises ever. And if we had a difference of opinion, we worked through that. We're usually always on the same page. And we helped recruiting. He helped us win those seats. He would do these telephone town halls. But what you want to look at, and you say these $30 million, you know who's raised the most money? President Trump. If you line up all the Republican money and all the Democrat money, at no time is it so one-sided. The Republicans have $800 million, the Democrats have $200 million.
But wouldn't that be better used in Mike Lawler's district or a district?
It's going to be used, but the money raised is the president.
Stop,
He's
Scuba.
the one that has raised this amount of money. Normally, the Democrats have more money than us. The Democrats have not done well. I mean, the advantage in the climate is for the Democrats. Their problem is their money and their leadership.
We're going to pause this. We do have a call to make.
Girl.
All right. NBC News can now project. In the state of Georgia, the 14th District, Clay Fuller projected to win Republican House seat 14. This was Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat. Not a surprise. He, of course, won a
800
special
votes.
election, Hallie. This is what we would have anticipated. But again, what's significant about this is Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat, and so therefore a lot of interest.
And a lot of interest in Georgia generally. I'm looking at the clock. We're 45 minutes now past polls closed. Steve is looking at Kentucky. He's looking at Georgia as vote count comes in. But as we take a look beyond
decision
just
desk called
Georgia
it.
14
It's
here
over.
at the state generally, you talk about seats that Republicans want to
It's
flip
over.
in this.
The Tucker coalition is done. Oh, they ended the broadcast. I feel bad. More like John King broke down, unironically. Instead of breaking down the primaries, he broke down.
And so you're at that point, Aaron, right? So you see 10%, you say, everybody stay tuned. We got to go a long way. 20%, let's hang in a little bit. We're not done. We're at 49%, but it's how that 49% breaks out. Just you see the only two counties where the incumbent, Tom Massey, is leading are over here. I'm going to start there just because this is his home county, Lewis County. As I said earlier, before we didn't have any results here, Donald Trump got 87% of the vote in Thomas Massey's home county in 2024. We just got results in there, and he's getting 63% to 37%, and it's 85%. So the problem for Tom Massey is not a lot of people live here, number one, and he just got most of the math he's going to get out it down there, number two. So you pull out to the bigger picture, and that's exactly what you have. You have now a little less than a 10-point race.
I feel bad for him. I'm not like making fun of him.
8-point race if you round Congressman Massey up right there. But then it's just, you're looking at the Gale-Rhine deeper red all over the place. And when we talked at the top of the hour, I said, here's where we need to look. The Cincinnati suburbs, the more populous areas of the district. And so you have Campbell County, we're up to 78%, and it's a 4-point race. Congressman Massey has closed it since the beginning here, but not enough, at least as of now. So you see, you move over here to Kenton County, I'm sorry. Kenton County is only 23% of the vote. And so if you're saying, is there enough math out there somewhere, again, you get into, possibility and probability. Mathematical possibility, there are a lot of votes out here in a big populous suburban county in the district. We're only at 23%. Probability is when you look at everything else. Is there some probability that this place is suddenly going to decide to vote very differently than this place, and 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 this place, right? So that, but if you're in a headquarters, you're, it's the possibility. So I mentioned possibility, probability. Boone, I mentioned earlier. Again, you're up to 88%, and it's about 10 points here when you look at it. So in the places where most of the people live, here, and in the northeast Louisville suburbs down here, Massey has closed it from when the early results came in. This is only at 22%. Again, you're talking about possibility and probability. So 22% here in Oldham County, 52-48, a small number of votes still. So if as Jeff was saying, they're at the Massey headquarters, you're thinking it's not over, they're still out there, we're at 49%. Well, yes, but you see what's filling in on the map. So here and here. Let's keep talking, Aaron, and you see if as you get from 22% in one, 23% in the other, as you get to 30 and 40 and higher, Massey has to make up that math, and he has to make it up fast, or else your eyes simply don't lie.
Right, right. And when you talk about possibility versus probability, and obviously you look at right now with, say, 49% of the vote in, what does it take to turn around? I mean, it has been Gale-Rhine up from the very beginning in terms of the numbers we've gotten, right? It isn't as if it's been going back and forth or anything like that. But you get to a certain point where it becomes mathematically impossible. When you're looking at 49% of the vote in, how close are you to that?
Yeah, so I leave mathematically impossible to the very talented people who work on the CNN political desk, and I don't want them coming up here, and telling me, don't get too far out over your skis. But I also trust my experience and my instincts here as you go through it. And so now we just hit 60%. Right, we just hit 60%, Aaron. So you're talking at 49%. Well, we just came up to 60%, and now you've got an 8-point race right now. Again, possible? Yes. Probable? The probability window is closing. As that number goes up, if that number doesn't start to shrink,
it's over. The Republican Party. Look, the thing that I was looking to find out tonight was whether or not Republicans would actually behave in this incredibly cultish way, or if there was any opportunity for a fissure in the base. It's not. There is none. I think the jank theory is busted. I'll be honest with you. I didn't place a lot of confidence in that theory to begin with. Okay. It's just a cult, 100%. And it's not, there's no ideological, there's no ideology backing this cult. It's just whatever Donald Trump wants. And right now, Donald Trump is pro-Israel, pro-Jeffrey Epstein, and so is the base of Republicans. Still, 46% of Republicans voted against Trump's word. That isn't nothing. Nah. No way. That's cope. It's just team sports. I mean, I think the opportunity here is that, yeah, once Trump is Thomas Mazzara. Okay, stop. This poll also shows that Republicans only like Fetterman because Trump said he did. Yeah, well, yeah, of course. Republicans at plus 33, Democrats at minus 30. I mean, the Indiana primaries were like pretty insane because in that instance, these local governments, or not the local governments, the local state legislators were literally abiding by the wishes of their base, their constituents. And then Trump got mad and then boom, they flipped 5 out of 7 seats. I don't see I don't see anything but Trump here. That's it. Massey lost, Israel won, Trump won. This party does not have anything. They don't have any goals, they don't have any agenda. It's just Trump. Georgia Dems being hyped as fuck to vote, even though they had no clue who to actually vote for, really speaks to this moment in politics. Yeah. It's Jover. It's so Jover.
Ideal. So I think it's we can see where this thing is going. I think it's very unhealthy for the country.
All right, well, we'll take a pause here. We're going to be coming back as more of these results coming in, getting more coming in from Kentucky. And Harry Anton is.
I don't ever want to hear from any Democrat about winning a fucking goddamn Republican voter over and conceding on right-wing culture war framing ever again for the rest of my life. Okay? Just so you know, in 2010, the entire Republican Party spent $178 million for the general election at the congressional level. $30 million from one primary is so insane. I don't even know what to say. Yeah. You do know what to say, and so do I. It's Am Israel High, folks. That's what it is, okay? Israel, tiny nation. Israel, number one nation. Israel, number one. America, not even number two. That's it. Am Israel High. What can you say? Again, there was a very brief moment in American politics where, you know, black people had the right to vote, women had the right to vote, And there was a couple decades between then. Oh, and there were still plenty of issues, by the way, plenty of hurdles. But at least like there was a couple decades where America had like established theoretical democracy before Citizens United. That's it. That was the only window where America actually had a theoretical democracy. We haven't had it since Citizens United, and it's over. It's super, super Jover. Like the scale of the money growth is making everything so crazy and people are falling for it. How do we get boomers? They're just so nihilistic. I don't know. 30 million spent, 1/3 of it from Israel. What an incredible moment, dude. Like doing this amidst a energy crisis that was born out of the America First president and his intense investment into Israeli foreign policy. Like Americans are paying more at the pump directly because of Israel. Okay. And the Republicans that are paying more at the pump directly because of Israel still turned around and went, nah, actually fuck this guy who's against that. What do you say to that? Does this mean Plattner's cooked, the culture strong? No. No, fuck no. No, Plattner's a Democrat. If you want an anti-Israel voter, if you want to vote for someone who is against Israel, you have to vote Democrat. It's that simple. And not even all Democrats. The Israel tax hitting all sectors of the U.S. economy? Yeah. Unbelievable, dude. Yeah, Republicans forcibly excised their most anti-pedophile congressional member of Congress. Should be shocking to no one paying close attention to what's going on. Great stuff overall. Great stuff overall. All right. I want to be able to see what will happen at polls closing in Pennsylvania, but I don't think I'll be able to actually watch it unfold with you guys because I have to shoot the fucking podcast. That's the reason why I didn't do the labor rally today. And I might not be able to see if we get the rapture, the rabmentum. Yeah, half day Hossie. First results should come in 15 minutes after polls close. Yeah. Kentucky is a closed primary, so independents can't vote. I know, but that's what we're talking about. We're talking about we're talking specifically about the Republicans and where they're at.
In Kentucky. And that is a seismic political decision made by voters in Kentucky tonight. Let's go straight to Jeff Zeleny. He's at Thomas Massie's headquarters. And Jeff, a very, very clear and strong defeat for Thomas Massie. I mean, what is happening there? This is being called, obviously, quite early.
Aaron, it certainly is. I mean, the polls have been closed less than 2 hours, and just a few moments ago, people began filling into the room. Now word has reached the supporters of Thomas Massie that he has fallen short to Ed Gallrein. Ed Gallrein is a farmer and a former Navy SEAL. He was a bit player in this race in many respects. President Trump made this a one-on-one contest between him and Congressman Thomas Massie, and the overwhelming amount of spending and money in this race was something that the likes of which no House primary has ever seen. So there's no question that Thomas Massie, who rose through the Tea Party era, starting back in 2014, found himself in a very different Republican Party, a very different president and President Trump. And the question is, what comes next for Thomas Massie? I think his speech tonight, which I'm told he will be delivering at some point, will be very interesting for the clues it holds. And do not forget, he is still a member of Congress for 6 more months. But for now, at least, the outcome is not what these are looking for.
Yeah, there's new information on the shooters. I called it. It's order of 9 angles. San Diego shooters live streamed the attack. One attacker shot the other, then killed himself. After driving away from the scene, the alleged video cuts to show what appears to be Clark sitting in the driver's seat with a pistol. He reaches over and shoots his accomplice in the head, reloads, and shoots him again before putting the gun under his own chin and pulling the trigger. Yeah, and the manifesto, I looked at it briefly, talked about how their religion is the white race, classic white supremacist creeds. They were wearing, one of them was wearing a Sonnenrad on the chest plate. You know, the usual. Gas can of the shooters had a SS logo on it too, yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, the fucking New York Post is talking about how the San Diego mosque might have deserved being shot at. It's incredible stuff. Yes, I saw the San Diego mayor get berated live. It opens with Sons of Tarrant, describes him as obviously both our biggest inspiration, followed by Buffalo shooter Peyton Gendron, who, of course, Tarrant and Gendron are classic. They are classic hallmarks of a okay.
Hero, popular in that state, particularly among Democrats. He is going to face now, come November, the state's treasurer, Republican Stacey Garrity. According to our projections here, you see Stacey Garrity there.
Absolutely. And in Alabama, the open race for governor is still too early to call. The president has endorsed Senator Tommy Tuberville in that race.
His replacement for the Republican Senate nomination in Alabama. That is also a race that is still too early to call.
And as we've been tracking some of the big races all night, you see there the big projected winner in the big race that we've been following all night long, Kentucky's 4th congressional district, Ed Gallerine. That's a win over Congressman Thomas Massie, who's been a huge thorn in the president's side. We are waiting for Massie to speak any moment now. We'll bring that to you, of course.
Over.
As you take a look at the balance of power in the House there, with a ton of battleground House races, we're watching in Pennsylvania. A
state that I think I can confidently say we are obsessed with here on this evening with 2 native Pennsylvanians at the table, because there are some super interesting battlegrounds here. And I think this graphic is important. It looks kind of like, you're like, all right, what is it? It sets up the stakes for everything that we're talking about tonight.
Yes,
it sets up the stakes for control of Congress come November. That's what this is all about. You've got some races, especially in Pennsylvania. You look at Pennsylvania 7. We're going to get into that in a second. Obviously, no voting in PA yet, with the polls having closed 90 seconds ago. But you look at that, that's a place where you've got a sitting Republican who Democrats think is vulnerable. You've got Josh Shapiro throwing his weight around. You got a lot of action in that state. And can we just acknowledge it's like 8 Eastern and we've already got the marquee race of the night in. There's still more to go.
There's
in some of these
a lot
other states
more to
too.
go.
Yeah, no, I think Pennsylvania is kind of part and parcel to the Democrats' plan to win back the majority. There are a lot of seats there that Democrats think that they have an opportunity in. The Brian Fitzpatrick seat in particular is a seat that has voted.
Bucks County, let's do it.
Right, that's voted for a Democrat in the last couple election cycles. Fitzpatrick has built a name for himself as somebody that's kind of separate from the party. But Democrats believe that this is their opportunity to take him out, and that would be a big part of it.
All right, come on, give us the dumps. Give me the dumps. Give me the fucking dumps. Rab Mentum is good. No, this is good. This is good for Rab. This is good for Rab. He's cooking. He's cooking. He's cooking. Close race so far. This is not bad. This is good for Rab. Okay. There is what's the total? 31,000 votes so far. We got to get some Rab dumps before I go. Not on NBC yet. Yeah, we went direct to the source. Okay. This is how it goes. This is how it goes. Democratic Pennsylvania House District 3 primary results. Remember, this is a massive, massive race. We got Rab Mentum. In our hearts, we got Rab Mentum, and we want some big dumps, massive dumps. Let's fucking shit for Chris Rab, okay? What are you looking at? Okay, hi. I'm almost done. Don't worry. I'm just waiting for... Oh, wait, really? Okay, Chris Rabb at 31%. Alice Stanford at 39.9% with 31,000 votes so far. I don't know why I'm doing the John King cadence right now, but this is a big deal.
This is where the population lives, and more competitive in the suburban counties than in the rural counties. But Gilrine's still winning. So even here, this was Massey's only hope. Most of the people live up here, and it's 52-48 here. It's 53-47 there, and it's 55-45 there if you round it. And again, the only place where we were still waiting.
If one more
for a decent
motherfucker tells me Chris Rabb is at 86% on Kalshi, I am going to literally launch myself into the sun I'm going to build a fucking spaceship. I'm going to build a spaceship. I have a capable candidate of building that spaceship, my brother. He builds rocket ships for a living. And I'm going to put myself in that spaceship and I'm going to launch myself into the fucking sun. I don't care what some fucking gambling app has to say. This is not the Harry Emden show sponsored by fucking Kalshi. Fuck! I'm a numbers guy. Tell me what ChatGPT is saying. I will grok it. I will ChatGPT it. I'm not going to Kalshi it. I'm not going to polymarket it. Fuck. Come on. Give us some dumps. Oh, fuck. You guys bricked the website. God damn it, chat. Fuck.
Feels and looks like a party atmosphere, but it is anything but a celebration. Wagon Wheel is playing for the second or third time here, and the anthem of this candidacy is going to be one of defeat by President Trump. I mean, the only county, as John was just saying, that the Congressman Massey is winning is Lewis County, and that is where we were with the congressman last night at his final rally in Vanceburg, Kentucky, on the banks of the Ohio River. And the congressman said that the Trump side is panicked. That's why they're spending so much money against him. Well, actually, that has proven to be incorrect. They were spending so much money against him to defeat.
All right. In 2023, the Inquirer did a Kamey's analysis, identified 6 voting blocks. Of the 6 blocks, there are 4 with a sizable presence PA3, black pro-establishment, black less affiliated, wealthy white liberals, and younger white progressives. These are the groups that will decide today's primary. Rabb has the clearest base of support in the progressive neighborhoods. A Rabb win will include gangbusters margins in his home turf of Mount Airy, 22nd Ward, East Passyunk, 1st and 2nd, and Baltimore Avenue Corridor, 27th and 46th. He'll also need to win what I call progressive curious neighborhoods like Germantown, Roxborough, but the progressive bloc alone isn't enough for a Rabb win. Street's base is pro-establishment black voters, mostly concentrated in the 50th, 10th, and 17th wards in Northwest Philly. Though Stanford tried for this group with Rep. Evans' endorsement, and Rabb represents some of this area, the party should deliver these votes for Street. Street also expects to perform well in his home district in North Philly, mostly made up of less politically affiliated black voters, wards 13, 11, 16, 32, 47, and 29. But like Rabb, Street's base alone isn't enough to seal the deal. So what's left? Wealthy white liberals in Center City and less politically affiliated black voters in West Philly, north of Baltimore Avenue Corridor. These are the areas I'll be watching most closely to see which way this election is heading. Stanford's path to victory involves winning both Center City and West Philly. If her early TV presence was enough to lock down areas outside of Rabb's and Street's bases, she could succeed Evans in Congress. But with Stanford's stock dropping late in the race, Center City and or West Philly might break for someone else. Will they go for the party back Street or the progressive Inquirer endorsed Rabb? If either Center City or West Philly votes decisively for Street, that should be enough to win him the election. But if Rabb fights to a draw or close to it in both areas, I expect him to be headed to Congress. Okay? Right? Oh, no. Oh, God. Stanford, Jesus Christ. 40% of the votes. I mean, this is the same from what we've seen. Like, Stanford and Street are basically competing for similar votes. Okay? They're competing for, like, similar voter profiles. Alice Stanford is the AIPAC back candidate, okay, that actually pulled support for some fucking reason because they thought that she wasn't doing well. And Street is the establishment candidate. It's Ayla versus Chris Rabb is obviously our guy. Could they possibly be splitting the centrist vote, clearing a path for Rep Rabb? Hopefully. Inshallah. Anyway. This is still very early, but it's good that Street is in third. Keep in mind, 314, the pack that backed Stanford, had polling that had her second and Street third with Rabb at first. Keep the faith. Yeah. Totally not scientific proof, but I manage an LD in West Philly, and all I see are Sharif signs. Nothing about Rabb. I'd be shocked he wins, but hopefully. God damn it, Chatter. Why you got to do me like this? Why you gotta fucking do me like this? It's actually a good thing that Stanford is doing well early. That means Street didn't bank establishment votes from early mail-in votes. I expect Rabb to win election day votes. Yeah. Hopefully. Actually, Rabb is second. If you look at the numbers and percentages, he has more than Street. Wait, what? I know. I assume these are big dumps early on. It's probably what, like early voting numbers or something, which would make sense because Stanford was doing all right initially. And then, okay, Chris Rabb, 31% to Alice Stanford, Ayla Stanford's 40%. What the fuck is this? What is this timer? What is happening? What the hell? Don't worry, I live next to the Aldi. 90% of these people don't vote. It will account gate you when the timer runs out. Okay, I'll keep refreshing it then. Summerlee is projected to win election, easily beating her primary challenger, my queen. Can anyone verify this? I'm hearing stories that State Senator Sharif Street had canvassers and supporters wearing working families party shirts and handing out street lit at polling places. No, that's like illegal. What are you talking about? That's like insanely illegal. It's a major accusation. It is at the time unsubstantiated.
With the Democrats against the agenda of the president that they overwhelmingly supported, they take notice of it. That's what.
But the Republican's going to win no matter what in this district. And so a lot of voters.
But you want one that helps Trump?
But a lot of voters in the primary didn't have incentive to come out and vote today because they know that whomever wins between these two tonight is going to win in the midterm election.
But Scott,
so
I
there's
think
less incentive.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I think Alyssa was closer to the. I mean, what you were reciting were the talking points of the campaign.
Well, you would know better.
The talking points of the campaign. the talking points of the campaign, which were around these issues, broader issues. But the question is, what was the president's motivation? And, you know, with Cornyn, when he says when things weren't so good for me, it was when.
All right, shut up, Axelrod. All right, let's hear what.
That I am watching as these numbers come in here in the Lehigh Valley,
nice.
the 7th District.
Numbers on the board.
Two other, Lauren, big races that we're watching in Pennsylvania tonight. Bucks County, not just for personal preference reasons, but because that is one that's going to be a battleground come November.
Yeah,
and then, of course, the Philly District, Pennsylvania 3 that we've been talking about, too.
Late.
Can you give us a sense? You've been, and we love having you on because nobody knows Philly area politics, Southeast PA politics.
NBC's updated numbers are just the same numbers that we saw already. Yeah, AIPAC already fucking gloating. Congratulations to U.S. Navy SEAL Ed Galbraith for defeating anti-Israel incumbent Thomas Massey. Pro-Israel Americans are proud to back candidates who support a strong America-Israel alliance. Being pro-Israel is good policy and good politics. Fuck! They're farting on us! Yeah, there is no Easter Bunny. There is no Tooth Fairy. There is no anti-war right. It's 100% true. There's none. It doesn't exist. There's no anti-pedophilia right either. Okay? Let's be real. Let's be real. As of today, it's official. Okay? MAGA. MAGA is a fucking cult, and they're pro-pedophilia, pro-Jeffrey Epstein, pro-Israel, unconditionally. They are just a fucking cult. That's it. That's it. There's no reason to fantasize about, like, what is Tucker Carlson gonna do? Is Tucker Carlson gonna fucking motivate the people to not vote for the pro-pedophilia, pro-Trump, pro-Epstein candidate? No, it don't work. It's not real. It doesn't fucking exist, okay? These guys are insane. Yeah, Galbraith, by the way, didn't participate in any debates, barely campaigned, but he had Trump's endorsement and tens of millions of dollars from pro-Israel groups behind him. Democracy. Straight up. He got fucking carried. He got fucking carried. Okay? This is the Republican closed primary. These are lifelong Republicans. Have you changed your mind on Tucker's viability as a replacement for Trump? No, because Tucker doesn't exist in a world where Trump exists. It doesn't change the calculation for me at all. What comes after Trump will be Tucker Carlson, who will be just as cult-like as Donald Trump. That's what I think. Once Trump is out of the picture, it doesn't matter. The only person who can carry that same exact cult that has the capabilities of reading the room of shit is going to be Tucker Carlson. But while there is one guy, while Trump is around, it's Trump and nobody else. But what I do think is Tucker might actually change his tune a little bit. He might be singing a different tune after this. Maybe I'm wrong, but he's a room reader, and the room is fucking yelling at him. Yeah, notice any trend with the most expensive congressional races? It seems like there's a trend. I wonder how that happened. 34 million, Thomas Massey versus Galbraith. Jamal Berman versus Latimer, 25 million. These are primaries, okay? Yeah, what good is it to be able to read the room if the base of support that you are going for is illiterate and can't read? Oh my God. Devastating. Again, like I said, it's now official. The Republican Party is a fucking cult. Now we're going to find out if the Democrats are a cult too.
You know, it is the most expensive race ever. I think when they add it up, right now they can count 35 million. I think when they add it up, it's going to be a lot more than that, because on our side, we know we spent more than 15 million. And we were able to go toe to toe. There was never a week that we got outspent more than 2-1 in this entire race once it got underway. And that's
remember,
also,
guys, this doesn't mean that Ken Paxton has it in the fucking bag, though, because the rest of the country despises these fucking freaks. Okay? It's an increasingly shrinking base of cult-like support. Okay? but there's a limit to it. If the opposition is strong enough, they can win. Okay? As it stands currently, until Donald Trump decides he's going to put armed ICE agents at every fucking polling station who not only ask for your papers, but your voter affiliation, which could happen. Could happen. And Democrats could just turn around and say, what are we going to do? Oh, no. We have to vote extra hard next time. I know they're shooting us at the fucking polling station, but we're going to vote. Vote harder. But remember, the Republican Party is gone, okay? It's over. It's done. There is no, I'm a Trump supporter, but also I don't really fuck with Israel. I'm done listening to this shit, okay? I'm done listening to this shit. As long as Trump is around, he is God, okay? Trump is perceived as a fucking deity. Trump is perceived as a godlike figure. The Idaho primaries were the first inclination that people don't give a fuck about any personal opinion whatsoever. They don't have any ideological standing. It's only Trump. Trump is God. Okay? And then we saw the fucking Louisiana race. Third place, dude. Incumbent getting into third place. There is no anti-war right. It's fucking over. Okay? There is no anti-Israel right. There's no anti-war right. As long as Donald Trump is the president, as long as Donald Trump stays pro-Israel, this party is pro-Israel. As long as Donald Trump is pro-war, this party is pro-war. Progressives in the party won't withhold votes or do anything to ban corporate PACs. It's been 10 years since Bernie run. He's going to be dead in a couple of years. Yeah, it's incredible. Isn't Massey getting 45% important, though? Trump candidate won is true, but not with a landslide. Dude, what do you mean? This is a fucking landslide, dude. What are you talking about? Anything but a decisive victory for Thomas Massey implies that there is no base of support. There is no fucking base of support for anything but Trump. That's it. That's where we're at. You're talking 10 points, by the way. That is a fucking landslide. He won by a landslide. The fact that it wasn't even a close race for Massey implies it's so gone.
Was leading the field,
anyway,
which is leaving Derek.
I can't wait for. Wait, hold on. I think everyone's here. I gotta go. New dumps. Fuck. No, it's the same. Are we good? All right. I gotta end it. Inshallah, Chris Rabmentum, the rapture is upon us. I have to go shoot the podcast right now. I apologize. And that's it. What a fucking devastating day for theoretical democracy in the United States of America so far. Remember, like I've said already, the first test was whether or not the Republican Party is a fucking cult, and they will just go whichever way the money tells them to go. This was proven to be true. They are the pro-Epstein, pro-pedophilia, pro-Israel, pro-Trump cult. That's what the Republicans are. The second test will be in Pennsylvania 3rd District. Okay? Pro-Israel is on the side of both Sharif Street and Stanford. Okay? The institutional Dems are behind Sharif Street. The people are behind Chris Rabb. So we shall see.